This is a presentation I gave at the Digital Research in the Humanities and Arts Conference in London last fall. Through the research presented here, we are trying to understand how we can embody abstract bodies in VR following a practice-based methodology grounded in the arts. Note that this is emerging research in its early stages. We are tying observations of behavior to psychological theory to gain an understanding of the importance of certain design elements. I will be presenting on the theory of a virtual mirror stage and the use of mirrors as tools and metaphors to transcend the virtual mirror stage and embody the virtual self as exemplified by my virtual reality installation, Transcending Perception. The image seen in the mirror is a familiar one. From a young age, around 2 years old, we learn to recognize ourself as distinct from its surroundings, as an entity over which we have seemingly exclusive agency. However, it was not always so. This connection between image and identity, and the distinction between the physical body bound by flesh from an external other, was acquired. Lacan's mirror stage is the phase in which the self is separated from the other. This formation of a self-other boundary occurs through an exploration of the agency over the physical body, coupled with distinguishing between that which is similar and that which is different from the self. Lacan describes the child's discovery of the self in the mirror as an act which immediately gives rise in a child to a series of gestures which he playfully experiences the relationship between the movements made in the image and the reflected environment, and between the virtual complex and the reality it duplicates, namely the child's own body and the persons and even things around him. The playful exploration of the virtual image in digital installation art and virtual reality parallels this process, and Lacan's concept may help to understand how we can identify with a virtual avatar through an embodied process. Whether in VR or an interactive installation, as the immersant notices their agency over the image, they move and play with it to understand the relationship. This event allows them to identify their existence in the virtual image or environment. Lacan's mirror stage is foundational in understanding and critically analyzing the role of the mirror and image of oneself in embodying a virtual body. While Lacan uses the child's interaction with the mirror as exemplary of this stage, the mirror stage does not necessarily require a mirror per se. Instead, the mirror stage occurs through the recognition of the image of the self as distinct from its surroundings. The image of others is also important to establishing the identity of the self. Thus, the mirror phase involves not only the mechanism of the mirror, but seeing other bodies which mirror or contrast with our own. Nonetheless, the mirror and its capacity to see oneself over there in the virtual image is an important tool which shapes one's identity. In many ways, the mirror and Lacan's mirror stage present potential tools and metaphors to better understand how we might embody the virtual self. Bolter and Grimala claim that looking into a mirror is an experience of both looking at and looking through. A mirror seems to be transparent and to reveal a world parallel to our own. In many ways, virtual reality interfaces seek to be transparent. Virtual reality psychologist and researcher Mel Slater defines presence in VR as the extent to which people respond realistically within a virtual environment. This focus on realistic behavior lies in his use of VR to conduct psychological studies of real-world phenomena. To produce realistic behavior requires the medium to disappear and be fully transparent, to be a window, not a mirror. Taken to an extreme, the ultimate form of presence defined in this way would arise in the dissolution of the actual body, as its presence always reminds the user of their actual existence and embodied memories along with virtual reality's virtuality. Yet virtual reality is an embodied experience. To remove the body is as futile as it is terrifying. As Catherine Hales states, our bodies are no less actively involved in the construction of virtuality than in the construction of real life. She states that we can see, hear, feel, and interact with virtual worlds only because we are embodied. As a result, virtual reality needs to reflect our physical and embodied existence rather than ask it to disappear. Mirrors allow the virtual body to exist in virtual space. They create a sense of physicality from the ethereal. Both reality and the image in the mirror create what Mori calls the bifurcated self. Agreeing with Hales, she claims the physical body cannot be left behind to enter virtual space. The body is simultaneously in two spaces at once, virtual and actual. Diverging sensory inputs split the body in two. In the mirror, we see the self over there, but our other senses tell us that we're still here. In VR, vision suggests that we inhabit another body in another world. But the kinesthetic senses and the memory of our actual body counter, recalling the simultaneous presence in actuality. Understanding the virtual experience in this way will help to advance our use of virtual reality in new ways, by moving past the obsession with leaving the body behind and focusing on bringing it with us into cyberspace. This bifurcation spills out of the experience as the immersant removes their headset. Not only is the body split, but reality is too. The virtual space takes on physicality, retained through the memories of the embodied experience. Just as the immersant remembers their actual body and environment while they're in virtual reality, they remember their virtual body and environment when they return to actuality. Foucault says that the mirror is simultaneously both a utopia and heterotopia, a place with no reality and yet one that is completely real. The same applies to the space of virtual reality. It is perceived as occupying physical space, and yet is a site with no actual place. Through the digital mirror, this heterotopian-utopian space flows out into reality, taking on physical form through the metaphor of the mirror. Research by Mel Slater and colleagues has shown the impact of the mirror image in virtual reality. On the left are actual images depicting the setup of a 2010 study where they first demonstrated the capacity of a first-person perspective in a virtual body and mirror image to induce body ownership. Subsequently, they showed that this mechanism could induce behavioral change and alter the implicit biases of the participant by playing the immersant in another body, such as the child's body, as with the example on the right. These psychological studies demonstrate the plasticity of body ownership, which allows humans the capacity to enter another bodily representation. Gonzalez, Franco, and Lanier point to several studies which suggest that this plasticity could allow body ownership to be bent beyond conventional human forms. According to Slater, one of the advantages of a virtual reality representation is that it is possible to easily go beyond what is feasible in the physical world. Yet his psychological studies center around reproducing realistic behavior through realistic representations. The uncanny representation of the simulated realistic human seen in these examples points to its artificiality without acknowledging it. Through the focus on reproducing reality, these examples fail to imagine the potential of virtual reality to expand reality. If realistic representations lead to realistic behavior, then could abstract and ethereal representations alter that behavior? Could this proven mirror metaphor continue to hold when the body loses connection to its familiar form? There are many examples of abstract digital mirrors in interactive art. Perhaps most famous are the mechanical mirrors of Daniel Rozin. His mirror installations manipulate tiles and materials to form a reflection in an array of physical pixels, reminding the viewer of the physicality of the digital interface and how it mediates their identity. Golan Levin uses a mirror metaphor in his large-scale interactive projection, Ghost Pole Propagator. Here, bodies are abstracted using an algorithm commonly used in optical character recognition to simplify them to a petroglyph-like stick figure. This mirror reflects back a glyph which focuses the participant on their posture and gesture, allowing them to form new symbols with their bodies. Chris Milk uses the abstract form of the shadow and a mirror metaphor to transform the participant's body in his Connect-based interactive installation, The Treachery of Sanctuary. In this triptych, the user goes on a journey through the phases of birth, death, and transformation, represented by birds being emitted from the body, birds attacking the body, and finally ending with the participant's shadow spreading wings and flying away. What is unclear in these examples is whether the mirror image on its own is sufficient to create the illusion of body ownership over the reflected image. The participant sees an other image in the mirror, but when they look down, they still have their own body. In this case, perhaps the mirror actually reinforces a boundary, creating a more externalized sense of control over the marionette behind the mirror, rather than a sense of self. How can we transcend this virtual mirror stage and embody these abstract bodies? In my virtual reality installation, Transcending Perception, Co-located digital mirrors are used to project the virtual space outwards, combining the actual and virtual and combating the bifurcation of self and space. Here's a video of Transcending Perception as shown at the Richmond World Festival at the end of August. For this, its third public exhibition, I transformed the inside of a shipping container into a stage surrounded on three sides by virtual mirrors. It was used by an estimated 1,000 participants over 2 days and served as the site for several experimental VR dance performances, where participants could watch dancers through the VR headset or the virtual mirrors. In Transcending Perception, bodies are tracked by a Kinect in 3D space and transformed into ethereal particle system bodies. These bodies translate movement into instruments of light and sound. Up to 6 participants can simultaneously interact with projections. One participant can put on the VR headset and enter the virtual space completely, as the people who surround them are abstracted into the forms seen in the projections in 3D space. Missing from the previous examples was the co-location of the virtual and physical mirrors. In the examples of VR psychology research, the mirror exists only within the virtual environment. Meanwhile, in the examples of artworks using digital mirrors, the space within those mirrors is as impenetrable as the physical mirrors that they are inspired by. In Transcending Perception, I wanted to use the mirror metaphor to create a sense of three-dimensional space that would form an initial stage of immersion and allow for interaction without the VR headset. To accomplish this, I used a mirror cave, consisting of virtual mirrors projected onto 3 walls that surround the user while leaving an open entrance for progression between observation and interaction. In the image here, you can see the immersant looking at the very same reflection that we see in the projection. We see what she sees through the mirror. These mixed reality digital mirrors are created by co-locating projections of the reflected virtual space with mirrors in the virtual environment. The body tracking alters the projection to align with the user's head, matching the perspective of a real mirror. An effect so natural that it becomes transparent to the tracked immersant, while simultaneously being made evident as the perspectives of onlookers are warped to conform to the tracked immersant's point of view. The physically co-present mixed reality digital mirrors help to unite together the actual and virtual body, to counter the bifurcation of the self and transform virtuality into an extension of actuality. The immersant is still aware of their actual body, but their senses no longer disagree with their virtual body. This allows immersants to embody very abstract and ethereal forms. Here's another example of immersants interacting with Transcending Perception. In the foreground, you can see a child playing with their virtual reflections in the projections. And in the center, you can see how the immersant wearing the headset observes their virtual body in the co-located virtual mirror on the left side. This video also exemplifies that while many adults are more hesitant at first, this virtual mirror stage knows no age. The immersant retains their virtual body both in the VR headset and outside of it, taking their actual body in with them and bringing a virtual one back out. Their virtual body is not somewhere else but here, continually co-present as long as they remain in the active space. More than this, the VR experience becomes a virtual mirror world, with the actuality of human bodies injected into the virtual experience and their virtual representations projected back out into reality through the VR headset and mirror projections. In Transcending Perception, the virtual mirror projects the virtual space back outwards, allowing it to take on real physical space. The virtual space becomes a simulacrum of reality, and reality a copy of the virtual, each a copy of one another without an original. The actual and virtual are blurred together into a hyperreality. This hyperreal space takes on the utopian and heterotopian qualities of the mirror itself, simultaneously actualized and virtualized. I continue to exhibit this installation and performance piece where possible, using it both as an object of research and a method to communicate the possibilities of virtual reality to a larger public. So far, this work has shown that the embodiment of radically abstract bodies is possible through the use of a mixed reality mirror, and that mixing reality through the mirror expands reality and it connects the virtual self to the actual, allowing a more complete and united embodiment than would otherwise be possible. Finally, Lacan suggests that this division between the self and other is a misrecognition, a false dichotomy that is far less strongly defined by the boundary of our bodies than what would appear. Is it possible for mirrors to enable a dissipation from the very self-other boundary formed through the mirror stage? I am extending the tools used in transcending perception to explore this question, sharing and mixing between bodies, as in the image shown in the background, and seeing how far beyond the body embodiment can take us. In conclusion, Lacan's mirror stage provides a theoretical foundation for understanding the process of self-identification and the role of the mirror mechanism in establishing that identity. The virtual mirror stage is the process of discovering our agency over a virtual body and identifying the self with that body. This playful exploration forms an essential step in embodiment within virtual bodies. By mirroring reality into the virtual experience and vice versa, transcending perception allows immersants to identify with their virtual body while establishing the physicality of virtual space. Through the use of co-located digital mirrors, transcending perception connects the virtual to the actual, mixing those realities to expand reality. As we enter the virtual space of the installation, it spills back out into physical space. Using these tools and metaphors, we can transcend the virtual mirror stage, embodying our virtual selves through the identity established in the digital mirror.